Hello everybody, welcome to my Thursday chess stream here on Twitch and lichess. International Master William Paschall. No wacky Wednesday today, guys. It's regular blitz and classical chess. Challenge me to 5 to 8 minutes base time with a small increment between 3 and 5 seconds. 5 seconds is possible for the faster games like 5 or 6 minutes. Or even 7, but if you're challenging me to the maximum, which is 8 minutes, let's keep the increment to 3 seconds per game, per move. Welcome everybody. It's fun to be here as usual. Yesterday we did Wacky Wednesday, crazy openings, unusual openings, and gambit play, what have you. Royal Python, Satis Troll, M47 and KD Pathak are new accounts. I mean, relative to our stream. And those guys have been watching us now quite a bit. KD Pathak played pretty well last time. I don't remember if I lost against that account. But, are you a new player here or just the same player with a new account? Where's Shah, by the way, guys? Haven't seen him. I'm becoming paranoid that he might be one of these new accounts. He likes to make new accounts. Royal Python, Saronche, welcome. Saronche, good to see you, man. Python as well. Satis Troll will get to play his Chess 960 game today, and he's first in line, legitimately. Guys, I want to apologize because I'm really disappointed. 2 weeks in a row, my Wacky Wednesday unusual opening stream won't upload to YouTube. Now, I wanted to appeal to you guys because I'm at my wit's end with it, really. I don't understand why 2 weeks in a row that particular stream refuses to upload from Twitch to YouTube. I mean, it doesn't seem like I made the title any different. I don't know if anybody has an idea why my stream on Wednesday won't upload, what it could be, because I'm kind of banging my head against the wall. I just can't figure it out. I mean, I tried to make sure there was nothing weird in the title. I even took out like Wacky Wednesday because that was the only thing that really seemed different, and still it won't upload. I mean, what could it be? Like, maybe just a coincidence, but I'm a big believer in conspiracy theories, so you know, it's never a coincidence. Anyway, that's the news on that front. I'll try to get it uploaded. Good morning, Cymonk. So first game up will be Satis Troll, and we'll talk whatever we can about chess, goings on in the chess world, other ramblings, Emery Tate, whatever you guys want to talk about, as long as it's not X-rated, we can talk about it. Alright, so Satis Troll, we're up to 7-5 Chess 960. Let's start it off. Did I just see a friend of mine? Wait a minute. Well, I can't leave the screen now. I started the game. But I saw a friend of mine playing in the challenge area there. Okay, so we're playing Satis Troll. We've got bishops on good squares. Rooks, queen. Actually, it looks like could be close to normal chess, just that my king is pretty far on the queen side. With these two bishops on the king side, we're probably going to be playing a fianchetto type setup with the king on the other side. It's a bit weird. Closed Sicilian with castling queen side. That doesn't look good. The English with our bishop missing. We did that last time, remember? We tried to play in English with our bishop. Can't say bishop. Bishop missing from the queen side on c1 ended up being a big deal. So I don't want to play the English. Knight c3 is going to be kind of unavoidable. We can open with the left knight. What is it called? Springer in German. What did they call that? There was a book called the Left Knight in German. Okay, so Saronchi said there's a book named Wacky Wednesday with videos on YouTube. Okay, yeah, there's Dr. Seuss copyright possibilities. So yeah, I think I tried to take out the Wacky Wednesday part, though. That's the thing that's really bugging me about it. I mean, Sparkle Horse my you know, lichess name is a band, or was a band. So I'm careful not to put that in the title. And I think that, you know, I tried to take out the Wacky Wednesday part, but heads up from Saronche there. Anything that's close to copyright is, like, obviously poisonous for these YouTube uploads. But f5, the Dutch against knight c3. This is cool. Heading for a closed opening, I would think, as usual. Yesterday, I tried to get an open game, or 2 days ago, I tried to get an open game against Troll by playing a very quick d5 Scandinavian type thing, getting my rook out of the position. It wasn't good. Alright, so now g3. This is an ambitious move by Troll, actually, but it looks good, right? I mean, mathematically, he's got the bishop, rook, and queen. So the computer would love that move. I mean, if it calculates, like, just piece mobility, and the king is not jeopardized in any way. So f5 is, like, a great move in terms of mobility of the black pieces. Yeah, Saronche, there is one of Dr. Seuss's less well-known children's books. Knight on b to c6. It's not exactly Horton Hears a Who, but it's a book, I guess. So, all right. But I'm not trying to put that in the title anymore. I don't know. It's just, I'm really frustrated because I really want to upload those videos because they're so fun, and I can't think it could just be a coincidence. 2 Wednesdays in a row that happens. It's kind of hard to believe for a conspiracy-minded person like me. I've been told I'm paranoid. I know I am a little bit paranoid. All right, knight on b to c6. We're gonna play f4. It's definitely symmetrical Dutch, and it's also a little close to, like, a sort of closed Sicilian type position in terms of the piece configuration for white. Dutch as well. So here we go, and we want to open it up with e4. We have the move, it's symmetrical, we have extra tempo. Do we want to play e4? If we play e4, I think that black will be obliged to stop e5, and that would give him, you know, e5, d6, and pawn takes pawn as candidate moves. Though who knows, maybe he could try to allow e5. I don't think so. So the aggressive move there, e4. Or just some building up of the pieces here. e4, what do we see? Well, if he plays e5, it's symmetrical. We've got an extra tempo. If he takes toward the center. We can develop the queen with tempo, which looks good, actually. Maybe that, but then e5. So I'm not so sure. We take with a knight. This is kind of awkward. I don't really know what to do in this one. Hey, guitar player, what's up, man? Saronche, yeah, I got your message about your bad day at the chess club. I was kind of sorry to hear that. Got it against me. Royal Python said that was a fun game we had yesterday. I was okay even after my piece sack. Yeah, that was... There was one game in the lichess database after I quickly went over that. There may be more in ChessBase if I get more time to take a look. But Royal Python, there was another soul who was crazy enough, master level player, to do some German guy, I think, if I remember correctly, but like a 2200, I don't know, who did that King's Gambit like I did. It looks like a really romantic idea, but the computer kind of throws cold water on my idea to play with the king on e2 and thinks that black's slightly better. I don't know. And it looked like you had a really good game, but obviously I was hallucinating. Once I put the king back on e1, I was hallucinating that I could castle, and that was affecting the way I was looking at the position a lot. So I would have played differently after king e1. Yeah, but I enjoy it, and that's why I want to do the wacky opening day, because it really is fun. It's really instructive. And the one thing though is, like, look at the difference if you analyze the games from yesterday compared to my normal stream where I'm playing really tight, correct openings versus yesterday where I played these risky openings, and the center pawn loss is like off the charts. Normally I'm around, on a good game, maybe 8 or 10 center pawn loss. On a pretty good game, maybe at around like 15 or 18. And on a bad game, my center pawn loss like goes up to 25 or 30. But yesterday I had games that were like 45 center pawn loss, 70 center pawn loss, even more. I mean, that's, you know, crazy, but it's a very obvious result of these extremely sharp and complex and irrational positions. And it makes it a lot of fun. Okay, so back to where we were. I think I'm going to simplify the position here a bit. Try to, if I can, get a better or superior pawn structure. That game, I think, had massive center pawn loss, according to the lichess engine, for both sides, really. A lot of missed opportunities. But I don't know the theory that well in the King's Gambit, but I feel like your bishop g4 move in as black in that line, it looks a little too aggressive, and maybe I just need to be a little more calm there instead of trying to play d4. Apparently is just a little bit over the top for white. If you guys want to check out that, I haven't been able to upload it, so at the moment all you can do is really look at my games from yesterday if you want to review, you know, or see what happened in the Wacky Wednesday Unusual Opening stream. I'm going to keep trying to work on and see if I can get those, or get that stream to upload. And last week's as well, because last week still wouldn't go. And I took out Wacky Wednesday from the title of the video and everything, and it still wouldn't go, no matter what I did. So I don't know. It's like poisoned or something. So we have this good structure here. King position. I guess we're going to be castling queen side. This is the queen side, right? Welcome, everybody. International Master William Paschall, streaming from Budapest, Hungary. We're playing Blitz with viewers here on lichess.org, and anything between 5 and 8 minutes is on the table. If it's a faster game, like 5 or 6 minutes, you can use 5-second increment, even here with 7 minutes. And if it's 8 minutes, let's keep the increment to 3 seconds per move. You can check out my videos, video chess training on YouTube. Again, trying to get that unusual opening stream uploaded, but YouTube and or Twitch is not cooperating with me. Kind of funny thing has been happening with me lately, guys, since I've been doing the, you know, commentary of the streams. I find myself sometimes like sort of just starting to do commentary in my head, you know, like about everything. I'll have a conversation and start talking to myself. Got to be careful not to talk to myself. I was playing poker a few weeks back, and one guy who's a very, very good player started to get irritated with me. You know, if I have a couple beers, I start to get kind of relaxed and have fun, and I talk a lot. And I realized I was like maybe irritating my friend, because I started, he like lost a hand to me, and I started to talk about it, kind of like I was commentating the chess stream. And I have to really watch out for that, because people are not going to be happy if you commentate life or other events. So I have to really be careful. It's becoming such a habit to like talk continuously. It's going to rear its head in other aspects of my life. Guitar player says he does commentary all the time. See, that's what I'm worried about. Okay, so it's time to hit the road here. Look at that queen move, though. Nice. Sadistro clearly a believer in... He's a believer in mobility. I'm almost sorry to see my rook go from the A1 square. But if I want to open up in the center with like D4, it's really important to connect the heavy pieces. Everything's coordinated here. And black can, of course, copycat. I had other moves. I could have played maybe like knight to D5. But I wanted to finish development. So what else is up, guys? I don't know what to recommend for your chess viewing other than my stream. Of course, the Olympiad was a big deal, and that's over now. There was an article on ChessBase about Kramnik's performance by the Iranian Grandmaster Moradi Abadi, which I thought was interesting. You know, I didn't pay too much attention to the Russian team games, but it's, yeah, I mean, Kramnik I'm a big fan of, and he really just played tremendously. And now apparently that Vladimir Kramnik is like reached the highest rating he ever had at the age of 41. Kind of good, you know, good to hear. So I'm pretty much from the same generation, relatively speaking, as Kramnik. It's good to know that, you know, when you reach 40, it's possible you're still peaking. And Kramnik is 28, 17 or something like that after the Olympiad, which is insanely high. I'm second in the world. Again, I'm still lamenting the fact that he didn't get a chance to play at the World Championship qualifier tournament, which he took really well because, you know, he's a good boy. But, you know, honestly, he got cheated. And, you know, obviously, it's a huge disappointment. I mean, watching the sham of a World Championship with, like, Karyakin, who has no chance. It's not as bad as Anand, but I'm really not interested. I'm not interested, you know, to watch Karyakin lose to Carlsen. Much more than I was to watch Anand lose to Carlsen. But Kramnik would have been interesting. And this is what I was talking about when the World Championship qualifier tournament started. There are only a couple of players who would make it interesting. You know, Kramnik and Caruana, and maybe nobody else yet. The other players are coming up, like Wesley So. And so Kramnik, you know, proving his case. I mean, it's just so amazing what he can do. And Moradi Abadi makes the point that Vladimir, like, you know, he's developed into this very universal kind of style where he can play very, very simple games like Capablanca, but at the same time he can turn around and play really complex positions extremely well too. And he has so much experience. His technique is just brutal. He's an amazing player, and he really played like a monster for the Russian team. He's unbeatable. What a person to have on your like Olympic team. And the Hungarians, for example, like with no Leko, they had crazy Ricky Rapport playing board one. Not a situation you want. I mean, you want a stable player. The Russians actually had Kramnik on board two. He would have done just as well at board one. Maybe, you know, more draws and less wins, but still, it just, you know, really doesn't matter board one or board two. But you need stable player in an Olympic kind of team championship, and Kramnik is the like obvious like best player for that kind of situation. Now, knight g4 is a huge issue here. Talking a lot, kind of losing my concentration. I'd like to play d4, but black has knight g4. Now, I don't know if I, you know, really like that too much. So, Tal Memorial starts September 26th. Thanks for that, Saronchi. That'll be a good tournament. I don't know, you know, I'm just disappointed that there's no World Championship with Kramnik. I mean, it's, you know, that would be a thing, man. That would be a thing. And that would be really fantastic, but it's just not happening. Can we win a piece here? Black has tactic here. Uh-oh. We've got to be careful. Friends and neighbors. Man, I'm really regretting this. That I let the knight there. He has knight takes b2. d5, knight takes b2. Holy simoleons. Satis Troll viciously attacking me here. But no immediate threat. So if I play a3, is this a bluff? A rare bluff from our buddy, the troll. A d5 now. Hitting a7. The problem was he had knight takes b2 in these positions, which was really, really terrible. So black has a move there. Rook takes e2. Queen a8 check. Bishop, knight b8, bishop a7. Let me see this for a minute. You lost on time, but what's the final position here? I'm winning. Rook takes e2. Oh, look at that move. What? Do you guys see this? Oh my god, d6. I had d6. I'm not sure if there's another winning move here. I mean, is this enough? Queen a8 check. Okay, queen a8 check is enough. Knight b8 and d6. What if I don't play d6? If I don't see d6, I'm still winning. Bishop b8. He has d6 getting out. And then what's the deal with this? I just take and take. King b7. I mean, queen b7. Okay, so rook takes e2 doesn't quite work. All right. Anyway, troll, got yourself worse time pressure than me there. Thanks for the game, man. M47 has been here almost every day lately. Son of Anarchy. I think they're moving too fast. 15 minutes for 11 moves. Hey, everyone. Yeah, it's chess 960, and it's harder. Knight equals Springer, thank you. Link Springer. I had a friend from the UK who was an amateur player, and he got that Link Springer book and became obsessed with playing Knight c3. Knight c3 is not bad. A lot of transpositions. Yesterday we played Knight c3. It's a funny fact that I've played so many tournament games, guys, in my career, probably over 2,000. Not so much lately, but I don't think I ever played Knight c3 in a tournament game. I've played everything else. Knight f3, g3, probably played a game with f4, b3 for sure, c4. Every other reasonable move for white except for Knight c3. I think I might have played f4. Probably against a weak player, maybe for fun. Okay, so not a fan of f4. Actually, I was thinking yesterday, guys, unusual opening stream is relative, you know. To me, it can be really bizarre, like knight a3 or knight h3, or it can be like a little bizarre for me, which would be the Dutch defense. I'm trying to think if I ever played a tournament game with the Dutch. It's hard to believe I didn't, but it's possible I didn't, because I always like playing against the Dutch so much that I think I had a kind of mental block against playing it myself. Although I did play it for a time in blitz. I usually kind of test out my openings in blitz before I actually play them in tournament games. Well, Black says, is he playing viewers? Again. Yes, we are playing viewers. Viewers have preference. If we run out of viewers to annihilate, then we'll have to go to the well and dig up some more. Queen c2. Just kidding. You guys give me enough good games. I don't annihilate too many people here. Queen c2, now classical Nimzo, and I've been playing a lot of knight c6 because I'm lazy to study the main lines. That doesn't mean to say that I haven't studied the main lines in the past, but this is a variation that you really need to be up on theoretically. If you play the sharper lines with c5 and d5 castles, you really need for black to be up to speed theoretically. So that's why I've been playing knight c6 a lot, because I feel my theory is a few years old, few being relative, and so we're playing this Taimanov variation. I think they call it Taimanov variation, kind of arbitrary name, because I'm trying to avoid, getting outplayed theoretically in the opening. Bishop g5 is kind of rare, actually. So why is that, you may ask yourself? Mostly white will play bishop d2, and I think in the positions where you play bishop d2, like castling queenside is a possibility. It's a little more central, a little safer than playing bishop g5. And bishop g5 could actually transpose to some kind of bishop g5 variation, which is not that dangerous for black, I guess. Fresh Kid says, hopefully not too late for a game. I've got 6 challenges now. I don't know if you're one of them. But, the games last like 15 minutes on average, so we're usually playing 10, 11, between 9 and 12 games on a stream. White can play with bishop g5 a setup basically like you've got the Leningrad variation of the Nimzo with bishop g5 and move 5. You've got knight f3 followed by bishop g5. This feels like one of those variations. I learned the Nimzo Indian first, I think, from Gligorich's book back in the 80s, and I don't really think that Gligorich actually gave names to every variation, kind of, but not really with knight f3 and bishop g5. It's funny, that variation doesn't really have a name per se. At least not a really well-known one. Bishop d2 back again. So you induce h6, then go back to a more standard kind of position, which is interesting, and I don't think can be real bad. You might allow yourself some kind of g4, g5, Bareyev type of kingside attack, but you also might rob yourself of the ability to play some tricky like knight to g5 type of thing. So it's interesting to play with this inducing h6. Certainly not bad to throw that in the mix, I guess. I wonder if I could play d5 there. I guess I'd just play like knight e5 or something rather than taking. Okay, so now I take. And one mistake I was making a lot lately, kind of inaccuracy, I think, in these type of positions, playing a5 pretty early. It's not really necessary to play a5 so early in these lines, and it can be an important loss of time. We've seen this variation recently at the Olympiad. Erwin Lamy, I think, had a game with Adiban where Lamy was white, and Adiban, the Indian grandmaster, the young guy who won the B tournament and Weekend last year, he seems to always get a like bad position every game, but he's so resourceful that he makes up for it. And he played this line with black against Ami and had a kind of dubious position, but won the game anyway. What a surprise, you know. And also Kramnik beat Adiban. Now that I'm getting distracted, getting onto this, getting onto another topic, but I'm touching back on another thing we talked about, which was Kramnik's great performance at the Olympics. And one of his victims was Adiban. And Adiban is this resourceful young player, but it doesn't work against Kramnik. Kramnik is unforgiving. If he gets a good position against you, you're basically done. You know, you're just done. I mean, his technique, he doesn't let people get away when he has a positional advantage. You know, like some people, he doesn't make inaccuracies. So Adiban just couldn't, he couldn't pull it off against Kramnik, basically. Welcome, guys. If you have any kind of chess questions or you want to throw something out there in the forum while we're playing, I mean, it's fun to discuss other stuff. So kind of keep things moving along. Any kind of chess-related questions or comments about chess events, throw it out in the chat room on Twitch. Kramnik is impressive. 28-17, man. He doesn't lose. It's unbelievable. And really beautiful chess. Not everybody's cup of tea, but d5. So this is, you know, a situation where white had played e4. Oftentimes, I have tricks based on knight to d4. And I've had a lot of games like that. But... And by the way, white doesn't have to play d5. You can play e3. Here the knight on d8 is notoriously badly placed in sometimes double king pawn openings. Like the 4 knights, you'll see Rubinstein's maneuver, queen e7 and knight d8. But the knight is often stuck on d8. It's kind of a bad square, obviously, with the ability to go to e6 taken away. So usually we go back to b8 and recirculate. I had a game in Zalakaros, my last tournament, in June, against a Polish kid or guy, 20-year-old master. I can't recall his name, but we had the similar game, just that I hadn't played h6. And I tried a really funky plan there. I think I'd also played a5 really early. Now a5 still kind of makes sense here because... Does it make sense though? I'd like to put my knight on c5, but it's going to get kicked by b4. Or it's just going to be prevented by white playing b4. So should I bother to play a5 in this type of position? I guess not. King's Indian type of attack for black maybe. Is white going to castle queenside, kingside? Where is white going? Big question. Should we talk white out of castling queenside? What about our king? Alright, I've decided to play a5. Kind of stake out a little territory on the other side of the board. White just gives us no information about where they're going to put their king, which makes it difficult to conduct a plan, really. h6 having been played, as I said, if it gets to be a double-edged position, could be a weakening of my king side. What are tactics puzzles? Simon says. Sarontia says, read the book from Uva, the middle game? Read the book. You'll find a PDF of that book. Would have loved to see a Carlsen-Kramnik match in November. Karyakin is also good. Good, but not good enough. Better than Anand. That's all I can say for The only thing I could say for Karyakin, he's better than Anand as far as playing a match against Carlsen goes. I don't know if he's really better than Anand, but for the situation. Okay, b4. And, well, white's not castling queenside. That's safe to assume. So, kind of a race type position. You're not castling queenside, are you? Seriously? If I was white yesterday, I might think I was castling queenside. We had a funny game against Royal Python, solid player here, who played the black side of the King's Gambit against me, and I was white. My king was on e2. Moved it back to e1, and I forgot I couldn't castle. It's very strange. But I'm playing a lot of chess 960 on and off, and I think maybe deep down somehow in my mind I thought it was just a weird position because it was chess 960 or something, and I forgot I had moved my king. Alright, so it's time we got to do something here. Development, like routine development, not going to cut it, I don't think. Break it open quickly before white has time to crush me positionally on the queen side. We've got to get in f5 somehow and counter this play with this. f5, pawn takes pawn, knight f4. Just knight f4. And again, like things like bishop g4, I mean, overrated, you know? You just like maybe chase the knight back to a good square if you play bishop g4. Feels aggressive, but don't play moves that are just aggressive for the sake of looking aggressive. The move, you know, oftentimes you'll be just chasing the other guy's pieces back to a good defensive post. Now f5, and we have counterplay, Houston. This is an incisive move order. If I take on d3 right away, that's also okay, but I don't think it gives black as many options. This is more tense to play f5 first. And we have e4 doesn't work, I don't think. It's close though. Do we have any kind of surprises for white here? Radical pawn sacrifices like b5. I always think of the Georgian Grandmaster Georgi Kashashvili when I see this. He's a great positional player, and he's always looking for that. Some strategic positions in the Nimzo, that's a fantastic pawn break. But ironically, the one time I lost to Kashashvili was I was white in a classical Nimzo. You wonder why I thought of that. b5. Some things just stick with you. So if I have nothing else, I'm going to take and take back on f5. Doesn't seem to be anything fancy here. We have a quite sharp position in a way. Yeah, there's a pawn fork, but it might not work because of several moves. I think that Malitz is getting paranoid of e4, but he has several ways to get out of that. I mean, queen e3 pinning me, rook e1 even maybe, though that's not as good. So e4 doesn't really work because my queen is not protected. That's the problem here. He was like hesitating before capturing. Fortuit Folier, welcome. Scaleaf. Saying Anand is ancient, but I mean, Anand is he's not that ancient, is he? Is he that much older than Kramnik? What is Anand's age exactly? Um, it does have to do with styles. A style like, I don't know, to make like a baseball analogy. I mean, you know, a pitcher who's like throwing really hard is gonna burn out faster than someone who is like a control pitcher. So you've got Kramnik, the equivalent of the baseball control pitcher, versus... Well, Nan's pretty universal, though. We're going to need to develop our pieces here. Wasting time, though. Baseball analogies. Not an internationally popular sport, but the one I know the best. So I'm making this really routine looking move, knight to d7 here. Anytime you have opposite color bishops, the positions tend to be more dynamic. B5, I was talking about this earlier. You know, B5 to break up the pawn chain is a huge idea. Okay, now he's just dropping the pawn on d5. And we simply protect. The time pressure got to white here. He started to make slight mistakes. And now we get aggressive. All pieces coordinated. His bishop unable to really do any damage. He's trying to play bishop a3. It looks like, uh-oh. I better not like lose my focus here for an instant. He's almost got kind of coordinated attack. Knight takes. Man. You have that? Really? Well, he's just hanging on. I didn't see anything clear there tactically. Man. So annoying. There I probably had bishop takes f3. No. Still didn't work. Absolutely got to be careful here. Wow. Queen b1 check. I don't know what's going on. Okay, so time pressure just decided the end there, but I was making mistakes as well, and both of us played pretty poorly in the last like 7 or 8 moves of that game. So sorry for that, guys. That's what happens when we get into blitz situations. Both sides start making errors. Anyway, instructive game, but I think white played a little hesitantly. And now Royal Python is challenging us to 7+5. Royal Python, your rating getting up there, over 2100. 7-5. If you guys want to play, challenge me to unrated between 5 and 8 minutes with a small increment. What were we talking about? I got a little distracted at the end there. Sicilian. Anand's 46. Okay. I just wanted to verify because there was this thing where Anand was saying that 50 is the new 40 or whatever. He's not 50 though, so he's kind of exaggerating a little bit. But Anand, just, I mean, give me a little bit of slack here, but I think Anand's just not as motivated as some players. Everybody's different. He doesn't seem as motivated as Kramnik. I don't, know that it's about age necessarily. Maybe Kramnik just loves playing chess more than Anand. I don't know that 5 years should make such a huge difference. So maybe Anand kind of mentally affected more than Kramnik by his age. You're as old as you believe you are. You know, that's what they say. Only as old as you believe you are. Okay, so B3 Sicilian Python, new system. I'm kind of playing something here I don't normally play, which is knight c6 and d6 type of setup. Just going with the flow. Normally against b3 I played b6 a lot, but you sort of caught me off guard. So I decided to just play kind of ordinary looking moves. Please change your challenge to casual. Oh. Who's challenging me to non-casual? I don't see anybody challenge me to rated. Are you Livim? I can't see listen to you. Ivim. Challenge me now to casual. And really heads up, man, Saronche. I had a kind of late night. I had lesson with a guy very late last night. And he was late too. So I ended up going to bed really, really late after teaching chess. Problem with being here in Hungary, I've got a bunch of students who are from the West, and a lot of people work and they want to do chess lessons. So sometimes I'm teaching chess like 11 p.m., even 12 p.m. at night, and it's hard to wake up the next day for the stream fresh and ready to go. Bishop e7. This is kind of a normal Skevingen hedgehog type formation with black. Python, I don't remember if you played this against me before. Somebody played this b3 type setup against me like 2 weeks ago. I made a reference to the Chicago chess FIDE master, senior master, Andrew Karklands. He played this b3 type stuff a lot, but he would normally, he's a creative player. He would normally play like an open Sicilian type of thing with b3, which is always kind of weird to mix b3 with the open Sicilian. Saroshi said you saw me late on the site. That's why I sent you that late message. Yeah, normally I prefer not to do like lessons that late, but if I'm working with somebody who works, Western Hemisphere, has a job, can't do a chess lesson maybe before 5 p.m. That's all that we can do. If you guys are interested in lessons or training, always looking for new students, because people don't take chess lessons for years. They tend to take them for a while and then discontinue and then continue again. So unfortunately, I'd like to keep a relationship with my students, but oftentimes they just can't keep taking lessons indefinitely. So we often have to switch it up. I'm thinking Gelashvili. In a similar type position, he played like knight d7 against me and bishop f6, which is a kind of neat idea to try to get control of the dark squares. But I don't know, knight d7, moving away from the center here, it's still in a position where white could play d4. I think it's probably wrong. Better to keep my pieces focused on the center until white, plays something like d3. Maybe if white played d3, I could justify maneuvering knight d7. Gelashvili, it was a kind of weird King's Indian attack type position where I was white when he did that, so a kind of closed position. Now we get this Karklands-esque d4, c takes d4. Always there's a little bit of backwardness for white along the c-file when you try to play the open Sicilian with b3, bishop b2, knight on c3. But it's not that easy for black to exploit it, and that's what Karklands kind of depended on when he played these systems, even against sometimes GMs. He would get away with it. It's hard to really exploit white here. he doesn't have this retreat like knight e2 or knight b3. That's where the knight would normally go in these kind of fianchetto type setups. So white can't really keep the pieces on the board, I want to say. He'd like to keep me backward along the d file by like moving his knight away, but knight f3 doesn't really look appealing. He could play that, but I'm not worried about it. Katie Pathak says, my turn was after Royal Python, but due to bad internet I had to re-challenge you. Quite unfortunate. Well, there's some things that are quite unfortunate, like getting a fatal disease. But yeah, it is unfortunate. It's a little unfortunate. We'll get you back in line. I'm just a little dark humor. No, that's what you got to do, guys. What Katie Pathak did, just let me know on Twitch if you lose your place in the line. I can put you back in order. But it's too hard to keep track of everybody. That's Yeruin's job. King h1. Okay. Dun dun dun. We gotta watch the long diagonal. I'm not playing knight takes e4 yet, but I might be later. But we'll play Katie Pathak next, and then resume the order of players in the list. What's the difference between lesson and training? It's one letter, I think. Two letters. Nothing really. I mean, it sort of means the same thing. I mean, a lesson may be like one lesson, whereas training I would interpret as like regular lessons over a period of time, which would be like intensive and a little more serious, you know. I had a guy email me this week asking, you know, if he could take a couple of lessons. So a couple of lessons is kind of like, okay, he takes a couple of lessons, but not like long-term commitment to learning with me chess. And the training, I think, implies more of like long-term development of a training program over a period of time, which is more serious than, okay, I'll just take one or two lessons, maybe just this week. You know, that's kind of how I would define it. Now, very aggressive play by white. Although e5 is kind of funny because it doesn't really threaten anything. But Python is kind of quick, so knight takes e4, not possible. e5, sometimes I can do this as a sort of pawn sacrifice. Here I'm not seeing any justification whatsoever on that front. What would black like to do? Like maybe simplify by trading some pieces. We could play knight e8. Knight e8 defends g7. Also defends d6. It's a bit passive. I think we can live with a bit passive. That's why knight d7 is not as good as knight e8. Right there. You see why. Python got excited, and, you know, we've been around the block a few times, Python. This is another piece sacrifice. Like yesterday, he resigned. You do get like 2 pawns for it. No, just 1 pawn. Yeah, 1 pawn, and you're gonna lose to bishop f6. No, just an outright blunder. Python getting excited, but yeah, we are aware of that possibility. Max 123. You'll have to wait until we play Katie Pathak here. All right. So Katie Pathak is a new opponent who's only played a couple games with me, but it does have an identity. All right, e4. We played 2 games with this guy. What do we have here? The one game where he played the Benoni with white very well and held me to a draw. And the other game where he was worse, but maintained solid chances. And then I just, like, annihilated myself in one move. He's asking me, you want to play white this time? It is weird how he gets 3 whites in a row. But I guess it's just flipping a coin. Do you guys know? It doesn't matter to me, Katie Pathak. You didn't play e4 before, did you? You play e4 and d4? What kind of King's Indian attack set up for white? White just moves instantly. I'm going to play knight f6. And then c4 would be interesting here. Kind of creative approach. c4, e5, pawn takes pawn takes f6, pawn takes e2. That's crazy position. Not sure about that. But I think after bishop e2, I might as well just develop. It's an unassuming setup by white. Katie Pathak not interested in using time. Just playing this old Indian attack, using 2 seconds on the clock for the first 6 moves. Not really an interesting opening, man. Last time you played d4 against me both games, is that right? And now you're suddenly playing e4, but you don't seem to know theory. There's only so much of the British accent I can stand, so I can't watch the guy, except in small intervals. That's interesting. I'm sure they feel the same about you. That's politically correct. Anyway, at least you're honest about it. Knight on bd2. Gonna start a war about annoying accents here in my stream. Knight on b to d2. I certainly am irritated by accents as well. Sometimes American ones. I'm like, I have an accent. It's not that strong as some people, but sometimes I hear these tourists and they're terribly annoying. So it's not just British accents that are annoying. Any kind of accent that's really really just exaggerated can be annoying. I hear these American tourists in Budapest. I've kind of lost any accent I have because I try to talk in a way that is sort of easy for people to understand. Not just because I do chess commentary, but as being a foreigner living in a foreign country in Europe, you know, a lot of people don't understand English that well. So you try to keep it really clean and simple and speak more simply than you normally do. And it is annoying when you hear these touristic people who are just like really obnoxious accents. Okay, so now e5. You can deal with GM Simon though. We'll make an exception because he's a GM. Right? I haven't lost my accent. Good. Well, I have a weird accent because my my upbringing was from southern New Jersey, but my parents were from Pennsylvania, which is a little different. But I probably have a South Jersey accent more than anything if you really listen closely. South Jersey, Philadelphia kind of accent. If you're an expert on accents, you can detect, not all the time, but sometimes. Ask International Master Spinal Tap Chess if he can notice it. We'll have to ask him next time he's on if he can notice my old Philly accent coming through. Maybe we should keep the pieces on the board here with knight f4, or am I asking too much? Then I went to school in Boston. Obviously they have a totally different accent, and maybe that even influenced me too. So, and then living in Europe, so living in 3 completely different places like Philadelphia, Boston, and Budapest, I would think kind of makes it a little bit weird and difficult to identify, what I sound like. You sound like you're from New England. That's what he said. Maybe you're just biased because you know that I lived in New England. But I think I did spend a lot of time there, so it had an influence on me. But I don't have a clean, accent from any one place, really. It's a little bit of a mix of things, I think. Queen c2. My mom was from Pittsburgh, which is a different accent. I got maybe from her, so it's all confused. Rook c8. Rook c8 is opposite the queen, setting up some cheapos here. But I've got the feeling Katie Patrick is a d4 player, trying to play e4 in this game. But I try to enunciate clearly and speak clearly because we're obviously doing a job where I need to communicate. People need to understand me. And as I said, living in a foreign country makes it necessary to speak clearly more than it might if I was living back in the United States. Well, let's develop a piece. Normally I would take with the bishop, but knight d4. Anybody? Kind of like a Smith-Morra type of piece, sort of sham sacrifice, this is called. When you sacrifice a piece but you're going to get it back right away. You can add that to your chess vocabulary. Sham sacrifice, not to be confused with Shamkovich, who was a Russian grandmaster who immigrated to Canada and the USA. Shamko. Knight d4. I played Shamkovich just once. It was a draw. Bishop to d2. So we get the better pawn structure. This pawn is isolated. Black is better, but not that easy. White doesn't have a lot of weaknesses here. Thinking bishop f5. Train all our guns on that d3 pawn. And we do occasionally mention this idea Your company yesterday said you have a calm and relaxing voice. Okay, just give her my number, okay? Bishop f5. It's... The threat is stronger than the execution, I wanted to say. Before Jeroen distracted me. It's not really about taking it necessarily. I want to tie white's pieces down to that pawn, if I can. And I did anticipate this. Now, there's two possibilities. Queen b5 or queen d7 that I really like. Well, I think what I was trying to say about the threat is stronger than the execution is that I don't want to just trade this pawn for this pawn. I want to keep white tied down. Queen b5 is interesting. For several reasons. It defends b7, defends e5, and it keeps pressure on d3. If I trade queen takes d3, a lot of people would make this mistake. They would play queen takes d3 and the game would be drawn, you know? I don't want to draw. I mean, I have a better pawn structure, better development, slightly. KD Pathak. KD Pathak. Bishop e4. So, bishop takes e4 again. KD Pathak will again not lose to me. Maybe bishop d5. That's such a strong piece on e4. Alternatively, rook e8. Kadi Pathak, also known as Shah and Shah. Just kidding. Shah and Shah has been missing, so we're a little bit wondering he's making a new account or something. Because he's always here. Suddenly he's gone missing again. My opponent offers draw. He likes to offer draws too, KD Pathak. Like he's an equal or something. If you're 2400, I accept. 2350 FIDE, I accept. If you're not, if you're like if you're under 2300, I'm going to decline here. Probably even if you're like around 2350, I'll decline. Maybe if you're 2375, I would take a draw. So just tell us your rating, KD Pathak, and I'll decide whether to take a draw here. If you're lower rated than 2375 FIDE, I'll probably have to decline. F5 is a little too ambitious, though. What are we going to play? It is objectively a draw. But if I'm playing a weaker player, low-rated player, I kind of feel obliged to play for a win. And that's what you have to do. I mean, otherwise you'll just draw every game. Look at the game from the Olympiad where a good example of drawing or trying to play for a win in an equal position. The game, I think, Elianov-Beliavsky. Elianov is rated like 2730 and Beliavsky's rated like 2610. And the position is totally equal, and Elianov just keeps playing and playing and playing and playing and playing because he knows that Beliavsky's like 65 years old and he's getting tired, and he just, you know, he doesn't care about being a gentleman or whatever. He just wants to win however he can win, you know, which you can't blame him because, you know, basically, you know, it's a team championship. So you could argue that he had no choice or something. I mean, it's a little bit, it's kind of like, okay, give the old guy a break or something, but KD Pathak, I mean, the impressive thing about KD Pathak is that 2 games he hasn't lost. Now again, he's very cagey, very fast. Offering draws in slightly worse positions takes a lot of confidence. I think that shows that white has a lot of self-confidence to offer a draw to, I'm likely a higher rated player. I have to be careful here. This is objectively equal. Yesterday I lost against Katie Paschall because I a little bit overpressed. I think he may have offered me a draw in that game too. A quantic rating. Mikey, bishop takes d5. What is a quantic rating? Queen e4. It's kind of weird. I feel like we're on the verge of some kind of advantage. He's threatening this. This rook ending, though, feels close to something. I'm feeling like we're close to something here, though we don't have a rook ending, because queen takes d3, queen takes b7 is the problem. So we can't do it. What does it mean, quantic rating? Exactly. Yeah, well, Katie Paschall's getting a little suspicious. I mean, they never make a mistake, really. It must be a master at least, I would say. It's too strong to be an expert or weak candidate master. The time play and it's kind of similar to Shansha. I don't know what the obsession with offering draws is in an unrated game. But again, it's almost like a distraction tool. You definitely shouldn't offer more than one draw. Another thing that's a bit odd about Katie Paschall, like they don't understand the etiquette of draw offer. Probably not right to offer more than one draw right after one offer after another. That's kind of weird. So maybe reminds me a little bit of some other players we faced here. Very important that it doesn't lose. You know, it's an unrated game, but draw offer. Why so many draw offers? So important. Plus you're like slightly worse. So kind of weird. Bishop h6 almost wins. f5 almost wins. Actually, f5 is awkward for white, but it's not enough. Not enough objectively. Still, white isn't in any danger. Maybe f4. This account just showed up and has only played me so far. Just kind of odd. Like a week ago. So I don't know. It's a strange thing. I mean, this player. So Max 123. It's like that account was created just to play with me on my stream. That's what I'm trying to say, which is kind of odd, to say the least. So it's somebody else who played us on the stream with another account, who created this account exclusively for playing against me on my stream, which is kind of weird. Max123, welcome to the stream 2014. Fortuit Folier, I don't know, you know, if the guy is an engine user, he's extremely clever about it because he's playing like kind of a little passively and you know, he doesn't want to look like an engine if he is. I mean, if he's an engine user, he's only using it to blunder check, basically. Or, you know, find like one move once in a while. It's not a blatant cheater. I think it's like somebody who made another account to hide their identity for some reason, or just because they, you know, it's fun to make new accounts. I don't think that KD Paschall just appeared like and said, "Oh, I'm gonna just play, you know, Will Paschall on his stream. You know, I'm not gonna play any other games on lichess." It's somebody who we know, and I'm suspicious of Shaw a little bit because, although it's not playing like him really, so maybe I'm on the wrong track. But we got nothing better to do than speculate about interesting conspiracies. Bishop g4. We're gonna go into, okay, d4 is actually Max 123 is a new opponent for us too. Conspiracies are alive again. Max has a huge differential between his blitz and his classical rating. Well, that may be because he's playing a lot of big time difference, like long classical games and blitz. I'm going to try queen b3, which is a bit more dynamic. Why would someone use an engine in an unrated game? Royal Python, I have seen, yeah, weird things that people do. I don't know why, you know. There's a certain grandmaster who used to cheat against me in banter games. Not just against me. He would cheat against everybody on a certain chess site just to look good for people who might take lessons. So, you know, when you've seen that, man, I mean, it's kind of like, well, who wouldn't cheat, you know? If a GM cheats in unrated games to make his image look good, I mean, then I kind of wouldn't put it past anybody. There's a lot of crazy people who just, they, you know, maybe they can't play barely and want to boost their ego or just look good. I don't know. There are various reasons. It doesn't seem logical, I know, but I didn't really suspect that account of being a computer, though. What I'm just saying is that it's like a pretty strong player who wants to hide their identity, multi-accounting for some reason. What are banter games? Banter games are like when two players play each other and talk about the game. Like if I was to play a match with, I don't know, John Bartholomew, and we would both talk about our thoughts while we're playing the game on Twitch or whatever, you know, that would be a banter match. And different chess sites have used that kind of format in the past. It's interesting move here, c5, but it would really, I think, lose the tension. Knight e5, we might transpose back into a main line. So when you've seen GMs cheat in unrated games, yeah, it's kind of like, this guy did it blatantly against me and a bunch of other players, and all of us started to talk about it, you know, like, it was becoming obvious. And he just, like, shamelessly did it. A grandmaster, you know, doing it against other title players just to make himself look good. I mean, that's pathetic. Later on, the guy actually, when I met him, had the audacity to, like, want to shake my hand. I was like, he really believed that people didn't know what he was doing, you know. I mean, nobody outright wanted to say anything, but it was like everybody knew he was cheating, you know. If it was for money or something, obviously someone would have confronted him, but everybody was such an awkward situation. And later on, this Grandmaster X came to me and wanted to, like, pretend like he was a good guy. I mean, that's horrible. Can you imagine somebody cheating in an unrated game? What kind of, in any game, but what kind of morality does that person have? Bishop e2. You misheard Banthar. I would have known what banter games. Banthar. It's a new kind of banter. Banthar. So This is a solid line that Max 123 has played. Pretty frustrating for white in this line to get an edge. We have a little bit of play on the A file, but more likely, most games are drawn in this variation. The Slav is a really tough, very tough opening to crack. We're going to have to go fully into like Kramnik mode here. F3, I've seen F4 type of ideas, but I don't really like F4. It weakens the E4 square pretty hard. So I'm thinking about the routine, bishop D2, F3. We got the two bishops, so I'm not really concerned about E5. I think it's a bit weird to play F4. Panther games. Seems like the cheating GM might be mentally ill. Or just really scummy and like wanting to do anything to like further their business of building their image and getting more students to look great. Or it's weird. Yeah, probably mentally ill. It's not a player who's really active nowadays, so maybe it's not an old player. Anyway, I'm not going to tell you guys who it is. I would never do that. But I'll tell you if you're getting warmer. No, it's not important. I'll let it go. Things dwell with me, you know. But all right. It's hard to let go sometimes of the anger. The anger. Development. How about some development, huh? Where is my development? E4. Actually, E4. E4 might be okay. It feels a little bit loose. Loosening. Maybe we play some slow Rook D1. I'm thinking G4 though. Stay away from cats, dude. The cat that nearly scared a year off my life last week stuck around. Insanely sweet cat. Need to find her a home. Panther games. Oh, meow. Isn't C5, B4, B5 the plan? That's a plan. A plan. I don't think it's real effective with... It's not real effective maybe here with the queens off. If you play C5, black can just play A6, move the rook away from A8, and when you play B4, he'll be just in the clear. So you really need to have like a development lead or something to make C5 work. Otherwise, you're just enabling black to play like the E5 break. When you play C5, very important thing in this Slav type of structures or London system, whatever you want, a lot of people will close it up. And you have to keep in mind that when you play C5 or C4 with black, you're taking the pressure off of the D5 pawn. That means that you're taking the pressure off the center and black can play this break. I mean, Rubinstein used this again and again in his games, like, I don't know, 90 years ago. He would always exploit people who would play this pawn break prematurely, or this pawn push prematurely, London system type positions. So it's been known for a long time. It's a mistake I see a lot of players make. It's an idea, but it's not always good. This is a position where I have to be really patient. I think playing on both sides of the board is probably the right idea for white. G4 space gaining move. Some tactics with G5. But what I want to do is ultimately get space, be able to play on both sides of the board with a better king in the ending, then two bishops, slowly that the position might open up. We have 16 pawns on the board, which is not really like a great situation in general for the two bishops. So on paper he has two knights in a 16 pawn position, which is normally okay, you know, but he could slowly get kind of outflanked by my pawns. And just, if you watch great master games, Alekhine, Rubinstein, I mean, they'll just try to open up a second front. Fischer, 2 bishops. These are players to study. The play with the 2 bishops from Fischer, Rubinstein, and just in general play. Al-Hakim. Principle of 2 weaknesses. More space. G4 is a good move. Just general space gain. Hard for black to do anything. Now he's got a solid position, but no like forward plan. And that's the nature of the kind of Slav. The only thing that worries me is that black might have a break at some point, an active break. You know, maybe he has to play at some point c5, but now even that is hard to do because I've got g5. So sometimes in this solid defenses like the Slav, you have to suffer a little bit in a very passive type position. So Hisitnuns, yeah, I didn't say welcome. I haven't seen you too much lately here since I got back. 98, though, I think this is a reasonable move. Sort of consolidating, maybe bringing the knight to d6 or c7, and all the pieces are together. Also, f5 is an idea, though. I want to contain his breaks. Make sure that's not a possibility. Then slowly kind of strangulate. Is that a word? Strangulate? Slowly strangulate black. I always wanted strangulate to be a word. It may just be better to say strangle. Strangulate. Sounds better. 98, and then what? Then what is making up my mind? H4, just kind of randomly grabbing more space. My bishops look both ways. They're not real good right now at the moment, but they have potential. And I've played a million games like this. Generally speaking, weaker players have trouble coming up with plans in passive positions. A master would probably spend a lot of time to try to find a concrete plan for black here, but black has only a minute left, so that's hard to do. You know, not a kind of position where you have much time. And knight c7, though, I think that's good. The pieces are working okay for black here. He's solidified d5. His knight is in the game on c7. He's not in front of the pawn chain on f6 where it was like vulnerable. So it's not a bad plan to play knight e8, knight c7. I think that's a pretty mature like concept for black. And maybe you can think about c5 now. I'm a little bit worried about that. c5 as an idea. Black really needs to get active. So now my rook is tied down to h4. It's unfortunate. I'm going to have to make another pawn move at some point. Pawn takes pawn is possible, but takes the tension out of the position. I think that's favorable for black. Usually relieving the tension is favorable for the other guy, more often than not. My white squared bishop. Actually, both bishops not really working here. King g3 doesn't look right. The other thing is he opened up his bishop by moving knight on f6. White should be a little better, but I'm obviously hemming and hawing and not really coming up with a plan myself. Black has a solid game. Got to make a decision here soon. King g2. It's kind of a weird move. Away from the center. King g3. h5. I don't know. I just don't want the pawn hanging on h5 or h4. And I thought black has other possibilities there, but h6, not necessary. Still, black's position is solid. F4, King G2. Kind of a waiting move. I was thinking Bishop E1, honestly, at some point. Now F5. F5 is kind of risky, but my king is also a bit open. I can take, pawn takes pawn. And rook takes, I have E4. I was making sure this is okay. That's what I was calculating, because I'm controlling G5. I don't want my king to come under attack. So, still black is very solid here. This piece is the way he set it up. Reasonable. Very reasonable kind of Slav for black. I have a space advantage, but I don't know that that's enough per se. Black playing very maturely in this game. Rook F7, super solid. My white square bishop having trouble getting active here. F4, pretty double-edged. I'm running out of time. Maybe E5. I don't really like any of these moves. Initiating just a general space gaining kind of strategy here with F4. We're obviously giving squares up. And now what? E5? And looks like we're good. So I like to see knight F6. I think that's maybe one of the only bad moves black has played in this whole game. Maybe the only bad move I thought black has played the entire game. And now white seems to have a serious spatial advantage at this point. I would say it's very serious. We can just really count on this space advantage. It looks like an Alekhine defense or something where black's just totally passive. We can just build up at will here. At will F5. Double edge because it'll give up the E6 square. Let's tie him up a little bit more. And how can we improve our position, really? Well, just timing that perfectly. Hung a piece. But very solid play the whole game. I don't think I really had enough for an advantage. Black was totally solid the whole way through, right up to the end, and probably perfect opening by black. If you look at this variation, I mean, one of the most important things here, if we look at the analysis board quickly, one of the most important things here, this concept of giving up the bishop in closed position. Most players, the main line is bishop e6, but this idea, you know, I've seen a lot from Kaidanov and strong players where, you know, you can actually give up the bishop on g4 because there are 16 pawns on the board. It's a pretty advanced kind of strategic idea. Okay, Son of Anarchy is challenging me. Did anybody... Oh, tell Darko Georgievsky the time control is too long. 10-5 is just an enormous time control, so we don't play longer than 8 minutes, 3 seconds. Ivy Mosquito says if I get disconnected, I'll be right back. Doing nothing, the art of doing nothing, and let his opponent self-destruct. The problem with the art of doing nothing is that Yeah, the tough players don't self-destruct. But there is an art of doing nothing. I remember this Russian master who immigrated to the United States. He was tough, and he was an expert at doing nothing. It was always very annoying to play against him because I never saw anyone else such an expert at moving the king back and forth. Like, he always found these situations where he would maintain an equal position and just move his king back and forth. Kind of a lost art, but that's also useful for beating weaker players. Make them go crazy. Chess is a psychological game. Okay, Son of Anarchy. Somebody else played this against me recently, I think. Avoiding any sort of knight g5 type things, but it seems very... I think it's a line, though. It seems very kind of exaggerated to play h6 on move 3 in any opening. Once, I think once my teammate for the Hungarian Team Championship, this Vietnamese Hungarian Grandmaster Cao Shang, he did something like, in the French defense, e4, e6, d4, d5, knight d2, h6. It didn't work out well. I think he was playing knightish in that game. Yeah, it's enough to do h6 on move 3. Maybe the French, not that different from the Philidor, actually. We could play a gambit with c3 here. But I would think that objectively it's not necessary. You could take with the queen and an event of knight c6, just move it somewhere like d3. Or even, yeah, d3 is best. Knight takes d4 though. Looks like the most routine. I'm gonna try this. I think that I analyzed this maybe a week or two ago. Hopefully there's still something there in the brain. It looks like an Evans Gambit type position. Very strong compensation. Queen b3. Without knight h6 possible. Black's going to have to make an awkward move there. Yeah, that should be a good move. The player who challenged me for a rated game, please change it to casual. Thank you, Saronche. Well, that's the same guy. No, he's casual. He's 10. So Joksha. Well, he also has a weird time control. Yeah, Joksha from Serbia. We're not playing like rated games without increment or rated games at all. So if you want to play Joksha, just challenge me to like 5-3 unrated. He's challenged me old school blitz 5-0. The problem is, Joksha, that I'm commentating and talking about games, and it's just too fast to really be able to talk about the game. If I play without increment 5 minute, it gets kind of difficult. So I'm at a huge disadvantage, and that's why I'm not doing rated, because it's just not fair to me. It's not fair to me if I'm having to play rated games with a disadvantage. So we've decided, after a lot of doing this, that it's better to avoid the rated games. Yeah, mouse, guys. Don't forget to donate via PayPal to the Mouse Fund, because we have a tendency to lose on time thanks to Mr. Mouse. Queen d7. No, I like it better when it happens when my mouse freezes, like when I have 5 minutes on the clock, because normally it happens when I'm blitzing and I have 10 seconds left or less. Queen b3, maybe queen e7. No, Hisidnun's interesting question. Yeah, I kind of like queen d7 in a way, because he's thinking, you know, like knight c3 d5 hits the queen on e7, hits the queen on f6, and the queen d7 looks like it's actually a pretty incisive move. So I don't really have an argument with queen d7. I think that white has great compensation here, and probably we're just gonna do what would Morphy do, you know? I mean, this is so tempting to let him take here and take back with the bishop. I'm not even gonna capture on c3. I'm just gonna castle, and we're gonna try to play a full-on Morphy style game. I believe that white has the better game, pawn down, or even 2 pawns down. Does it aggravate you when people play nothing against you? Well, let me tell you, like yesterday I was watching a game on the Internet Chess Club. I don't play on there that much lately, but I used to. And there is this grandmaster, very, very famous, quality player, Mikhail Gurevich. I was watching Gurevich play. I don't normally watch a lot of strong players. Not a watcher, but he's such a great player that I was like hanging out, and I decided to watch and play some games. And I like his style. And he's playing some guy, an IM from Argentina. And Gurevich is playing the English opening every game. And I think the game opened like c4, e5. And Gurevich played g3 and black played h5. I just turned it off right there, because that's exactly, I mean, I don't get angry about it, but, and I'm not Mikhail Gurevich, but I mean, you know, don't waste the guy's time. I mean, you know, playing h5, it's just absolutely unsound. And he just like sacked the pawn against Mikhail Gurevich with h5, h4, knight f3, knight takes h4. I mean, okay, it's a blitz game, but yeah, I appreciate if people really try to play something serious. I'm not going to get, like you said, aggravated, but it is a kind of waste of time to play utter garbage. I don't think that here, Son of Anarchies, though, h6, that's an actual move. It's an actual move. I mean, I think this exists theoretically. So it's not like he played something totally ridiculous. Like, you're playing a really strong player to play h5 every time they try to fiend shadow their bishop is... to me, that's sort of a waste of a chess game. Knight to c6. Logical, right? Like Evans, knight a5 becomes an issue. So now we have to change gears a little bit. And knight a5, very, very disruptive type of move. Although anyway, white will have such a massive sort of development advantage. I'm wondering if I'd let him play knight a5 and grab my bishop and still have a good game. Bishop b5. Is pretty interesting. I'm not sure this is the best move. There may be something better. I feel like it keeps the initiative a little bit. Don't ask me what my next move is, because I don't know. We have 2 possibilities. I'm probably going to take... He played knight e7. And so, that's a solid move. We need to develop our pieces. Problem for black is that he can't develop his king side. And now I don't know what I'm going to take here, because he just takes the other knight. Although still we have compensation. You could play bishop takes anyway. Kind of helps him develop. But we do seem to have compensation. He took with a pawn. Wow, I didn't expect that. And then maybe e5, trying to open it up. I thought he would take with a knight on c6. I just didn't think we had time to waste. Son of Anarchy, we played one game. Oh, that was that weird game yesterday. Or before yesterday, or yesterday. Oh, we played fantastically and then like lost to a one mover at the end. Oh, that was an interesting game. Okay. Now we can sack up another pawn. We're like getting totally sack crazy with e6, but maybe it's too much. I don't know. We should just think about playing kind of positionally. Perhaps bishop a3 is an idea. E6 though. Let's go for it. I mean, you only live once. Darko Georgievsky. Sir, maybe I weak opponent, but I want to learn. Can we play next? I'm waiting too long. He's waiting too long. You're waiting too long, man. I mean, everybody's waiting the same, respectfully. So, sorry to keep you waiting, Darko. But that's how it works. You get in line and you have your place in line, and then we asked you to challenge me to time control other than 10-5, but you didn't listen. So maybe you should listen and try to challenge me to a different time control that's appropriate to my stream. Queen d6, very, very good compensation for white. We're going to need to make a knight move. Probably knight e2, clearing the queen laterally. I don't want anybody to have to wait, but that's the nature of the beast, because we have like 10 people. You are next, but you didn't change the time control. And Joksha also the same thing. He didn't listen, didn't change the time control. We're only playing with increment, and we're only playing 5 to 8 minutes games. 10 minutes is too long, too much time. It takes like 25 minutes sometimes for a game if you make it 10 minutes or longer. So we have to be reasonable. All right, so knight g6 is possible, just to disrupt his position a little bit here. Maybe I better, but I wanted to prevent him from castling concretely while I can. And we have compensation. What are we, 3 pawns down here? Something like 3 pawns down with really, really good positional compensation. Change the time control, dude. We have 40 minutes left in the stream, and that's time for like 3 games, 2 or 3 games. So yeah, if you want to play Darko, it would be like 8-3 would be the longest. 5-3 would be the shortest. So try to challenge me to that. It's not just like play the master. I want to talk about the games and try to make some instruction for everybody, so we can all benefit from the games, not just the guy who's playing me. Knight on e to f4. It's kind of a weird position. I'm down a lot of material. He's trying to get unraveled now with c5. We should see that maybe knight d4 is an idea here, or even d4. Bishop e5. I don't want my guy to get shut out by d4. My guy being the bishop on b2. So I don't want it to get shut out of the game by d4. Looks like we have to contend with d4, maybe knight d4 sometimes. His king isn't really safe Whoops. Absolutely not trading queens under any circumstances. Down material of this magnitude. I'm down 3 pawns here, so that's the equivalent of like a piece down. I'm definitely not trading queens. I have lasting pressure. The black king isn't really safe in the long term, so, but it's vital that I don't trade queens. Trading queens and I'm probably losing. Now he's ready to castle queenside, it looks like. I want to discourage castling queenside. So I play rook b1. It doesn't prevent castling queenside, it's discouraging. Notice the word discouraging castling queenside. Queen h5. My queen is very, very mobile. Maybe rook b2. Black is sort of tied up. So I can complete my development. Not commit myself to a plan. If he castles queenside, we double on the b file with very, very strong counter chances. I've got the queen lateral as well. So looks like not an easy position. Maybe a computer would beat me up to 3 pawns. But now we're gonna try to attack white here. I guess queen h5. Although g4 is interesting too. G4. Let's go for queen h5. Maybe a mistake, I don't know. Black lost on time. I mean, it isn't apparent if I have a concrete discovery here. So I would be a little scared if I was playing a computer. Darko withdrew the challenge. Joksha not listening. So we're going to play Super Grand Patzer 6-9. 5-3. Some viewers in this chat room has some mental disorder of insulting players by talking about autism and all sorts of nonsense. These viewers think that anyone who draws I am must be a cheater. Really a funny thing in chess nowadays. Anyways, bye. KD, I don't have any sympathy for anyone like talking about autism, so nobody sanctioned that. But you know, people are going to be suspicious when you sign up for an account and your only 3 games are against me. You're going to have to take a little bit of like suspicion and heat there, dude. If you've got only this account and you've only played 3 games, you haven't lost against me in 3 games, some of the viewers are going to ask questions about who you are and, you know, have suspicions. That's completely normal. I mean, a lot of them have played me like 50 games and can't even get a draw. So you have to kind of understand that that's not something that we see every day. And you're also a mysterious account with no name or... so I don't sanction the autistic references at all. And I have warned people in the past about that. But as far as like wondering about whether you're cheating or something, I think that's a natural suspicion for people because your result is very, very good over the 3 games that you played against me. Whereas most people that watch the stream couldn't do that. So we suspected that you might be a player who has played me before who created a new account. And I was speculating about that being a real possibility. But I'm sorry for the people, don't, you know, make jokes about people being autistic. I have said that before. It's not good. Sorochi, yeah, Joksha maybe not listening to the stream. It's possible that some people challenge me and don't realize I'm streaming and don't actually listen to the audio as well. Alright, so we got some counterplay on the king side with knight f4. This is a typical kind of Benoni for black. Maybe instead of a3, I would play rook e1 and bishop f1 for white. When the position's maybe more like a king's Indian than it is a Benoni. Well, I'm not really in a hurry to take that bishop on e2. The problem is that all the big channels on YouTube use autism as a joke. Well, yeah, not just the big channels, but people in the world. The problem is that, you know, online streamers aren't under the same regulations that television actors would be, so it's not as limiting. But then you get into arguments about freedom of speech. It's very, very touchy. Just in my channel, my policy would be, you know, not to do that. Then people complain you're violating their civil rights and the right to free speech. So it's very hard to make everybody happy. I don't know. But f5, h6, f5. Yeah, but if anybody like really starts to make fun of people that are autistic or something, we'll definitely ban them from the chat. At least give them a timeout and ban them the next time they do it. I don't do that, and I don't, you know, sanction anybody who does. And we don't generally on my channel ever insult people for anything. I mean, you can joke about less serious things, but yeah. Anyway, that's enough of that discussion. Let's just pretend, turn our head and avoid the issue. Alright, bishop on f5, awkward position. It's blocking my rook, but also I have sacrificial possibilities. I don't want the knight to come to g5. And okay, guys, we have half an hour left, so it's probably like 2 more games at most. Some attacking prospects. Could I sacrifice a piece here? Looks a little bit too much. Knight takes h3 and bishop takes, yeah, looks sort of over the top. Interesting move though. e4, dropping a piece, taking on f3, then discovering. The c7 knight, kind of pathetic, isn't it? So not sure what to do here. I'm feeling like black is okay, but not really clear on my plan. h6. Microsoft's revenge for my attempt to remove all Microsoft. I hate Microsoft. That I'll say with a clear conscience. I don't care if I hurt Microsoft's feelings. I don't have to be politically correct with Microsoft. I hate Microsoft. Rook c1, queen d7. I don't know, guys. It seems like black's okay, but this knight on c7 is sort of lame. How did I get here anyway? We had King's Indian, and for some reason I just randomly played c5. I'll do this occasionally. Mostly like white will castle, and I'll get into a Marazzi, accelerated dragon. And usually players don't really handle the white side of the Benoni that well when it's delayed like this, but white played pretty straightforwardly. Knight h6, h3. I'm doing the Gingy Indian. Roman Gigiashvili, grandmaster who created the so-called Gingy Indian and videos and whatever. Roman and I had a relationship, not like that kind of relationship. We were working together in chess, and he was advocating these setups with the Benoni with knight a6 and rook e8, and made videos about it, but I never really fully subscribed to this whole Benoni knight a6 delayed, e takes d, and rook e8. it always looked a little bit hokey to me. Jinji really likes playing the modern defense, like d4, g6, or e4, g6. Mostly d4, g6, bishop g7 against everything. So he worked out systems based on d4 and e4, g6, and using these Benoni type setups. I don't think a white played this optimally. As I said, I think it's best to do like rook e1 and bishop f1. But white has a lot of room for different sort of plans that are reasonable. Now he took on f4 and then played bishop d3. And I think that's pretty damn positionally sound. You're facing the bishop pair, but then bang, you trade one off, and you got two knights against bishop and knight that aren't all, you know, that much better than the two knights. You have a powerful bishop. It's actually a bad bishop because a lot of my pawns are in dark squares. So in the ending or something, it can end up being a little bit of a liability. I think that white has a fully decent game in this position. I can't avoid the exchange. Sacrificing on h3 looks unsound. Don't know how I would follow that up. A lot of people might play a move like that in blitz, but it looks totally stupid. The best I could hope for would be like a perpetual check after bishop takes h3. Bishop takes g4, a mate, I think. Bishop takes g4. Oh. Hey, anyone here have experience of transitioning from d4 to e4? I want to learn how to play accurately in all positions. This is InfoBreeder321. 1850 on lichess, but I have some very basic opening knowledge. Transitioning from d4 to e4. Bishop takes h3 looking more interesting now than it did a move ago. Is that anything for me? Super Grand Patzer is like 1990, fast. He's super fast, I would say. So h6, hanging a pawn. White is slightly better. Nothing I can do about it. I decided to trade my dark squared bishop, which is pretty extreme. But I don't want the knight coming to e4. Plus, I'm just getting short of time. So, when you're short of time, it's often practical to trade down. This is an interesting position now. If I let him get the b file, I could be in trouble. I'm going to take with this pawn. This is very risky for me. But if I let him get the b file, I may just be in trouble there. Safer to take with the b pawn structurally, but I was just very concerned that rook b1, rook b7 would disrupt me horribly. Anyway, white's better here. Okay. But the position should be tenable for black now. Still, white has protected pass pawn at d5. Maybe I need to bring my king to the center. Could have just played knight d6. Super Grand Patzer. Pronunciation, Bill. Awkward position. Super awkward comes to mind. Thank God he's like tied down to g4. I mean c4. That was a Freudian moment. So g4. Check. Black is a little better now with that knight offside. I want to say black's slightly better. Despite the superior pawn structure with a protected pass pawn here, I don't think that white is superior anymore. G3. Prison. And white is probably toast here. So Super Grandpats are keep doing what you're doing, but take your time. A little too quick. Although Super Grandpats would have been a different game if it was sudden death, 5 minute. I think you're gonna beat me, but I would have handled the clock differently if that were the case. Though good game strategically, right until the error there with where's the knight go? I mean, you have no move. Rook e2, you're losing a piece here. There's no defense. I mean, trading rooks loses the pawns, and rook c1, rook h1 would be ugly. So anyway, it was a good game though. You were better before, by far. I don't know about bishop takes c3 by me. That was maybe a little bit too much. So Yaksha or Yaksha, I was saying Jaksha, but I'm being American again. I should know better living here in Hungary. It's Yaksha, and Geese is up. Yaksha does not change his time control. Yeah, switching from d4 to e4 is interesting. I would try to play strategic. Maybe start with some kind of strategic systems like the Lopez with white, or something like a little closed. You might not be prepared to play like more open games. Okay, so Geese against Geese. Well, we're talking about the modern defense. Let's play a modern defense. We haven't played this in a long time. I would play more closed games at first. You know, I wouldn't start with like the Scotch or something, and the sharpest lines of the Joko piano or Joko and two knights. Maybe that type of stuff with bishop c4 is a little bit harder to learn. As a d4 player most of my life, more of a d4 player, I kind of empathize with what you're talking about. Speaking of Roman, maybe we'll play the Roman. Here in Hungary, they have another name for this. It always escapes me. There was some Hungarian players that worked a lot on this. Bakony variation, that's what it is. Bishop e3. I'm trying to remember. What did we look at with Gigi years ago? Pawn takes pawn? Yeah, and bishop takes knight f6, e5, knight h5. That was the line anyway, a long time ago. Back in the dinosaur age. Roman's original analysis focused on this variation. Isn't it called the rat? Good question, Hizit Nuns. I'm just wondering if the rat isn't like a particular setup based on like knight h6 and knight f7. You know, some people have asked that question before. I'm not really a huge expert on the naming of these openings, but I think I've heard in different places that rat refers to more of the systems where black plays necessarily like knight h6 along with f6 and knight f7 in the modern. Modern is a more broad name for anything with g6. Maybe rat refers to specifically variations where you do like knight h6. I'm not sure though. I want to believe that's the way it's. Names in chess are not like written in blood either, and a lot of openings, you know, have multiple names. Okay, well, we've got bishop on d4 for free. So that's a very important piece. This is an accelerated dragon type position. I guess I can just take. Queen takes is a bit more a bit more ambitious than knight takes. But ultimately, I don't know if this is really good for white. To give up this dark squared bishop, it's, you know, a lot of dragon players would just kill for that. I mean, and Benoni, King's Indian players. To give up, it's like a mortal sin. I mean, to give up the dark squared bishop in this type position where, you know, you might think about castling queenside and a lot of your pawns are on white squares, it seems like really asking for trouble. But perhaps white's centralization is so strong here that it's balanced out the fact that he's parted with what would normally be like the strongest minor piece on the board, his dark squared bishop. So keep it in perspective. I guess d6, because if he tries to play e5, he may just find himself in a pin that works best for, you know, for my benefit. At first glance, it's like e5, okay, white is good, but is it really good? I look concerned again. Yeah, I don't want to feel like an idiot, you know, and get crushed in a position I just wow, he's doing it. He's doing it with e5. How can you do that, sir? How can you do that? If I play knight g4, you're gonna sack a pawn? I can't believe it. Knight d7 is a move too, but knight g4 is more active. It just looks, it looks right. Damn it, it just looks right. Plus we've got attack on f2, which doesn't hurt to throw that into the equation. Cuts off the queen laterally, moving to h4. That's pretty important too. So knight takes e5, knight takes e5, bishop takes e5, rook takes e5 is the big trick. But, you know, we have a move, I guess. So we can do an unpinning of our own. Queen a5. Queen a5. Queen a5, knight to d5 looks like the only attempt for white to make this work. That's the problem for me. Knight d5. And black has a lot of moves though. I could take multiple ways on e5. I just want to take on e5 as quickly as I can. We basically told him what to do. Are you Zug addict, KD? There was a tournament on lichess for the Robach about half an hour ago. There's a name that we can throw into the modern rat discussion. Robach was one of these rat experts, right? And a lot of people refer to it as the Robach rather than either the rat or the modern. So there's three names now. I think modern is kind of the American way of just simplifying the whole thing. I want to say it's American, but I mean that's what we usually call it in the U.S. The Robach, and where is Robach from originally anyway? There was also Duncan Suttles from Canada. He played a lot of those. They didn't call it the Suttles though. Robach was European. I haven't seen Robach in a long time either. In fact, I never saw him. Where is he from? Actually, I don't know what country Robach was from. It's an interesting name. You could try to speculate its origins. Sounds kind of Eastern European. Okay, knight to d5. We've got 3 ways of taking on e5. Or not at all. But you gotta like the way that Geese plays like a sort of bot, you know. He's got the just put rook on center file, put pieces in center and go forward, you know. It's the chess robot. Very central, very hard to argue with, you know. I don't care about bishop. Me just control center. So, but there's legitimate argument for that. Alright, I guess I'm going to sort of kind of settle for pawn takes pawn, because otherwise my structure gets dissolved. Does this make sense? Like pawn takes pawn? He was Austrian. Okay. The opening, not the dude. Well, the opening was named after the dude's games. Yeah, the dude. I'm just curious because it's one of those players you talk about and you've heard about, but I never consciously asked myself, I wonder where Robach was from. Because I'm too young to have ever played him, or I don't even know. He probably died in like the. He could still be alive, actually. Usually they're dead if you didn't read about them in the last 20 years, but you never know. Look how long Lilienthal lived. Of course, Lilienthal was like, there were articles about him and stuff. Sorry that I didn't meet him. He's much older than Robach, probably. Opening, not the dude. Knight takes e5. Oh, mommy. I'm in trouble now. How does that? Yay. Knight takes e5. Wow, dude. Geese. You took your vitamins today or something, man. What am I going to do about that? Yikes. Well, I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm just going to, like, trade pieces. I wouldn't touch the rook with, like, a 10-foot pole if I take on e5. I guess king h8 is sort of like, well, if I play it right away, does he have some trick, like knight takes f7 or something? Not really. So king h8, the inevitable move, looks like a reasonable option. I mean, there's no reason to take right away on e5. I'm just going to get checked on e7 no matter what I do. Knight takes f7, rook takes f7. I'm okay there with that. Jeez, dude. Stay away from me. I don't want any part in winning the exchange. You can't have my dark squared bishop. No. The answer is no. I'll exchange knight for knight if I have to. If you force me to, physically force me to take on e5, I will take on e5. Otherwise, I don't want any part in this. b3, 1b3. No one talks about Larson. Another one of those inventive players. Larson is like one of my greatest influences. I haven't mentioned him on the stream recently for whatever reason. but we talk about the Benoni. If you guys really watch my stream a lot and get to know how I play, I think I mean I hope that you would see a little bit of the influence of Larsen. But with some players it's stronger. I don't really play the Benoni very much. Larsen, b3, another move I never had much success with. I have tried to play b3 time to time, but and opening that for whatever reason. I haven't had a lot of luck with white with b3. The last time I played b3, I think I got crushed by Stefan Bromberger. It was a ridiculously bad game by me. I just didn't want to prepare that day, so I randomly played b3, and it sort of turned out it didn't matter because his preparation for b3 was top notch. King h8, f4. All right, now it's time to think about other moves like developing my pieces. Bishop e6. I like bishop e6. Just don't have any sacrifices, please. I just want the invading pieces to go away. This has got to go away. This has got to go away. And but an instructive game, though. I'm happy with this. Being part of the stream today. Probably our last game. An unusual game, and the way that black had to play here with king h8 and keeping the tension. How to play against the chess robot of centralization. We're just not letting you have any fun. Now you forced me to do it. I'm going to take on e5. If you insist, I'm going to take on e5 and eliminate danger number one. Rook takes would be a kind of interesting idea there. Now, villain number one is gone from the picture. What do we do now? Put pressure on d8. I'm going to keep my f rook on f8, maybe help protect the king side. I think we have a subtle threat here. White has to be accurate. So his space, his central space versus my bishop pair. Queen e4 is almost forced. I'm not sure that he had any other move except for that. Now what to do, though? I don't really know. Queen c5 is interesting. Just trying to defend my pawn. Hang out on the dark squares and defend my pawn. And then we've got minority attack. A5, A4. This is not so threatening. Those feeble pawns. You won't hurt my king side with your feeble pawns, sir. Rook b8. Try to stir the pot a little bit here. Maybe the other rook should have gone. Should have gone all the time to d8. I think. Finally, we got him. The dragon. And he drops a piece. So eventually, the time got the better of him. But an interesting game and really good use of centralization by Geese. You watched a kid's lecture about Morphy yesterday. Interesting. So no pawn moves, just this was an interesting struggle, between kind of two different chess philosophies. I think this Stabil, control the center, and the more dynamic. And I think Larsen it was cool that someone brought up Larsen, because he definitely was a huge dragon player, and the Benoni, anything with the kingside fianchetto, hyper modern, And a good point to bring up Larson during this game, because I think Larson would have appreciated Black's style of play. Maybe my game wasn't perfect, but at least my style of play would have been appreciated by Larson himself. And he was a huge influence. And other players of his style, like Miles. So I'm a big believer in hypermodernism. I think we all have a favorite opening that we've played or played against. Bishop h6 followed by bishop f5 previously might have been a strong option. Yeah, those two bishops. b3, bishop b2 used to be my main opening. Carlson says he used to play b3 for some time. Yeah, b3 is fine. Put pieces in center, defeat foolish human. Yeah, that's what it's like, exactly. But dark square bishop, very hard to checkmate. You know, it's a big concession. Although black had a lot of pitfalls I could have fallen into. Thank you guys for joining me today. We'll be back tomorrow with another Blitz and Classical stream on lichess and on Twitch. That's what it's called, right? Twitch. So hopefully Twitch lets me upload yesterday's Wacky Wednesday stream at some point, because there was a lot of fun. Every Wednesday I'm doing another stream where it's like unusual openings. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. Don't forget there's a simul on Sunday that I do at 1800 hours Central European Summertime on Sunday night. If you guys can make it for that, I usually play 20, maybe more to 25 players simultaneously for fun. So Vislat says Saronche, this is Hungarian for goodbye. We'll see you tomorrow. Royal Python, thanks for joining me, and Fortuit Folier and everybody. Simunk, thank you guys, and hang in there till tomorrow when we'll do battle again later on. Thanks Saronche for moderating the chat. See you later, guys. Bye bye.